Hello, dear friends, and welcome back to Pause with Prudence. I'm so glad you're here. This is a space for quiet reflection, for honest, hard, and holy questions, and for those who may be standing on the edges of faith, still drawn to the sacred, still longing for meaning, but perhaps unsure how to think or talk about it. Today, I want to explore a simple yet beautiful question. What is the good news of and for a Christ follower? Not what's the institutional message of Christianity or what do certain churches or denominations say or believe, but rather, what is the good news for a human being who chooses to walk in the way of Jesus Christ? I am a Christ follower, and I have been for a long time. I used the word Christian for many years. But in 2026, here in the United States, I finally decided that I cannot identify with most people who are calling themselves Christians. For many people, including myself, the word Christianity has become entangled with politics, cultural wars, rules, guilt, and fear. And that's not the way I want to describe my life. And it seems to me that somewhere along the way, the good in the good news that Jesus Christ represented has gotten a little blurry. So today I want to return to the heart of it, if I can, as I see it. Not the noise around Jesus, but the life and the invitation of Jesus. But first, I want to invite you to take a slow, grounding breath with me. Let's arrive here together. Breathe in, and then gently exhale. The good news begins here. God is not far away. In the life of Jesus, we see a God who steps toward us, not in anger, not to shame, not to frighten us, but to show and give compassion. A God who knows what it's like to be human, who ate meals and laughed with friends, who grew tired, who wept when a friend died, who experienced rejection, loneliness, and pain. The good news is this: you are not walking your life alone. Jesus gets you, and God is nearer than your own breath. The second piece of good news is this: love, not fear, sits at the center. Jesus didn't come to reinforce performance religion. He didn't say, if you behave well enough, or believe correctly, or pray long enough, then God will love you. No. He revealed a God whose starting point was love. A love you don't have to earn, a love you don't deserve, a love that meets you exactly where you are and invites you into healing and wholeness. So the spiritual life is not about impressing God. It's about resting in love and letting that love transform you. Here's some more good news. You are not defined by your worst moments. We all stumble. We all fall. We hurt others. We carry wounds and shame and regret. But grace always whispers, this is not the end of your story. There's always a path back, always a door open, always a possibility of forgiveness and repair. God never turns away from the heart that is turning homeward or towards Him. And then there's this: transformation is possible. You're not stuck as a fearful version of yourself, or a defensive version, or an anxious, angry, closed-off version. The way of Christ is about becoming more alive, more compassionate, more grounded, more whole, more fully yourself. I covered this in episode 4. It isn't about being perfect. It's about becoming real. And I think that's beautiful. Another piece of good news is no one is excluded from the table. Jesus kept surprising people with who He welcomed. He welcomed the misunderstood, the doubting, the broken, the spiritually bruised, the outsider. And so the community of Christ followers today is meant to look like that too. A wide open table where belonging is not conditional on getting everything right, but it flows out of shared love and humility, where you don't have to hide your questions or your story, where you can bring your whole self just as you are. And finally, the good news says that death in all of its forms does not have to be the last word. Not only physical death, but the small deaths we live through, grief and loss, disappointment and endings, and seasons where something in us falls apart. The death and resurrection of Jesus tells us that love is still working beneath the surface, that God is always bringing new life out of broken places, always. So when we talk about the good news of a Christ follower, we're talking about understanding that it is possible to live in the presence and love of God, and receiving that love, believing that it is why Jesus came, letting it soften the hard places within us, admitting and dying daily to our wrongdoings against God, ourselves, and others, and letting God's love resurrect new life and to heal our shame, letting it shape our relationships, letting it transform us inside out, not performance, but transformation, not trying, but trusting and resting, and then carrying that same love that we have discovered into the world, into our families, our friendships, our work, our communities, ourselves, and even our enemies. It's not primarily about rule keeping or belonging to the right tribe or group, even though behaviors will change, not because of our trying, but because of the flow and the rhythm of relationship with God. The good news is about being reconciled to ourselves, to others, and union with God. Transformation of the heart, having a life of love that heals. It's possible, but it is our choice to receive this invitation of Jesus. If you've ever felt like Christianity was only pressure and fear or performance, I want you to know that is not the heart of the good news. The invitation of Christ is tender. He says, "Come to me, follow me, abide in me." That's relational, and it's grounded in love. And I believe it is what everyone wants, right where we are, as we are. It's our choice to receive and believe, and it starts by saying yes. And I hope you will consider this for yourself. Thank you for pausing with me today. If this reflection speaks to your heart, I hope you'll carry it gently into the rest of your day. If you have further questions you want to share with me, just write me at prudence@pausewithprudence.com. Or if you want a companion page for today's episode, go to www.pausewithprudence.com and download the pause page. Until next time, may you know you are deeply loved and never alone.